You. Good afternoon. Let's begin today's session from where we left it yesterday. Okay. So, yesterday we saw the. Good afternoon, Shivam. Right. So, we saw yesterday, first of all, we started the discussion by understanding when exactly did the software industry as we know it today, independent commercial software industry, buying and selling of software and all, when did it exactly start? We saw that yesterday, right? So it happened in 1970s, early 70s basically, when SAP and Microsoft were born, when IBM debundled their hardware from their software and started selling software separately. So this entire software market came into being, okay? But that was just the beginning. We saw there were a lot of problems with the software delivery part and the business model part. Initially, the business seemed very lucrative because no manufacturing is required, right? You're just creating intellectual property, as many copies of it, just make a copy of it and sell it. So it's, seems the ideal business model. I mean, seems the ideal product line where you don't have to produce anything. You just create it once, copy it over and over again, and sell it as many times as you want. So it's all about selling it as many times as possible to as large number of people as possible. Okay, so pretty lucrative, right? So a lot of companies joined into the bandwagon in the early 70s, trying to create software companies. Microsoft was one of them. But then the problem with software delivery back then was that the media or the instrument on which that software had to be delivered to the customer's premises, whether it is home or office, was very large, was of a very large form factor. Okay, and it had to be loaded in trucks and then delivered to the person, and then you need some dedicated installation engineers visiting the place a few days later and then installing the whole thing. So basically, it was very cumbersome, and of course, all businesses try to improve their, value chain. So of course, floppy disk came into being about a decade later, 1982, somewhere around that time, which obfuscated the need for, heavy logistics, and you could simply deliver the floppies in a package, and accompanying with that, you would have a instruction sheet telling the user how to in which order to put the floppies and install the entire thing onto the system. All right. So from the floppy disk was born this compact disk or the CD by late 80s and early 90s. Okay. And at that point of time, I mean, CDs after a while, almost after 2 decades from the beginning of this entire thing, became the de facto standard for software delivery for a very long time, even up to 2019, I would say. But CDs surprisingly disappeared after 2020, 2021, when internet speeds became very, very good all across the world, and COVID especially forced everyone to shift on to an online model. So basically, CDs somehow, I don't even remember, like they just disappeared away. Okay. So any new laptops or desktops that you buy, you usually would not find a CD-ROM unless and until there's some backward compatibility required. So CDs ruled the industry from about late 80s up to 2019. So that's almost, not almost, in fact, 3 decades. It's a long time, right? So that was solved. That problem of delivery, software delivery, was solved to a larger degree. Okay, it was solved. Software delivery, to deliver software to the end user. It was largely solved by CD, and that is proved by the fact that for almost 3 decades, the industry didn't look for a new innovation, right? The industry did not look for any other innovation. Otherwise, you would have found something there. So, if CDs ruled the roost for almost 3 decades, what is it then that led to the demise of CDs now in the past few years? Okay, what is it? So when we try to understand this, we realize the second problem that has been with the software industry right from the beginning, and that's the business model. But it's not something specific only to the software industry. Okay, this one-time sale issue is there with all the companies which are selling products. Okay, so mind this word that I'm using here, product. Okay, what is a product? A product is something that a company manufactures, whether in an abstract manner or the physical thing, and then hands over to the customer for a one-time payment. Okay, and the customer is responsible for its maintenance, for its usage, for its breakage, for its upgradation, everything. The user is responsible for the maintenance and servicing of that product. All right. So any company which is dealing in products has this problem that it's dependent on a one-time sale, especially if it is a product which is not a perishable item or an exhaustible item. For example, fruits and vegetables are also products, one-time sale, but they are perishable and they're also exhaustible. So person eats one apple, he wants another. But what about the Apple iPhone, right? If Apple produces a phone which is very good, as I gave you this example yesterday, and if Apple creates a phone which can last for 3 generations or 4 generations, which does everything, there are very few people who would buy another phone once again. So then they have to go for other tactics where they have to do marketing gimmicks and they have to somehow compel you socially to buy another product in line. Otherwise, their sales are going for a toss, right? You just buy once and you're never paying them again. So this is an intrinsic or implicit problem with all product companies. Okay, this is an implicit intrinsic problem with all product companies, that they somehow feel very insecure with one-time sale. Now there are different kinds of models than which are born out of this. That means product plus AMC plus support. So RHL, I gave you the example, like Red Hat Linux earns a lot by support, right? So that is one thing. So but still, one-time sales and products have those inherent weaknesses. Another problem with software products, even though the strength that software had also became its weakness. What is the strength? You don't have to manufacture anything. Okay, it is just binary data that you have to copy again and again, and you can make as many number of copies and sell them. Okay, this is the strength. So you don't need a manufacturing facility, but this is also a weakness because anybody can do that copying. Okay, an unauthorized person can also do that copying. So that is where the problem of piracy comes in. Okay, I'm not sure if I wrote piracy here. We discussed piracy, but software piracy was one of the biggest problems throughout the time when CDs came around, because CDs could be copied and you could buy pirated CDs of software, of games, of almost anything that a company has produced over months and years. You could simply copy it and sell it for a much lesser amount. सारा को देखने के लिए किधर एक बाहर चली गई. Alright, so piracy is another issue. You spend so much time and effort in creating a software product and somebody just comes in and creates a copy of that and sells it for 20 times lesser amount. Okay, and then also came around peer-to-peer networks, which by the name of torrents. So combine these two things together, okay, CD piracy and torrents, that totally killed the one-time sale business model. Okay, that totally killed it. And there was a time when we were just simply dealing with free software like VLC Media Player, Windows Media Player, some other. I'm just giving an example of media players. And the gaming industry also took a hit for a very long time. You didn't have very good games and all. Some games were good, and pirated CDs were easily available. So piracy, torrents, and one-time sale, all of these things combined together, were not working in the favor of the software industry, right? So even though software delivery problem was solved. So the major revenues that were coming into the software industry were from enterprise users. Okay, this has to be remembered. Enterprise users. So what are enterprise users? Enterprise users are large companies like Ford, for example, Mercedes, Audi, John Deere, JCB, okay, and Boeing, Airbus. All these are examples of large companies. General Electric. So software companies were targeting primarily large corporations and large enterprises, because there you could ensure licensed usage of your software. You could visit their premises, you could monitor them, you can check them, but it was not possible for the software companies to enforce the legal usage of software in individual homes. And that is why for almost, I would say, up to 2016, 2017, you did not have a lot of software companies and softwares and apps targeting individual users and customers. We know what's happening, right? So Linux was the choice for people who wanted to use free software. Everybody else, most of the other people were using Windows in a illegal manner. So something changed in the last decade or so, from 2016 onwards. When I say last decade, I'm counting it from 2025. So 2015, 26 onwards, something's changed. Okay, so this, as I told you, piracy and torrents and the one-time sale business model did not work quite well for the software industry. So something happened 2016 onwards, and we saw a sudden boom in companies like this. Okay, so for example, Uber, Ola, I'm talking about India right now. For other countries it can be something else. Okay, Swiggy, Zomato, Zerodha, what else? Make My Trip. Although it's an older company, but still you could see much larger usage of these platforms. Okay, so I have a quick question here. You would call these apps or companies as software companies, or would you call them as platforms? How would you categorize them? So can you compare Swiggy with Microsoft Windows, or can you compare Swiggy with a game, a PC game? How would you categorize this? Is this plain software? Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, Zerodha, are they selling software? Are these, is this software sale that's happening? Swiggy is a platform. Uber, Ola, service providers. Okay. So now let me ask you a question. What is Adobe Photoshop then? Let's try to understand. What is Adobe Photoshop? Is it a service? Is it a service provider, or is it a product? Okay. So many of yours, you're saying Adobe Photoshop is a product. Okay. But you're saying Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, Zerodha, Make My Trip, these are all service providers. Okay. These are all service providers. Okay. Adobe Photoshop is a product, whereas Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato are our service providers. They are service providers, but what is the app? The company behind them are service providers, but what are these, the app that you are using, what would you call it as? Would you call it as a product, a service, a platform? What? Platform? Okay. Product integrated with service providers. So Marshall, when you say product, Adobe Photoshop is a product. When you say Swiggy is a product integrated with service providers, how exactly are you using Swiggy? Do you create something in Swiggy and do you export it? Is there an output of the Swiggy app? Adobe Photoshop can have an output, right? You produce something and you export it out. But do you produce something in Swiggy? What sort of a product is Swiggy? If you're calling Swiggy as product or Zomato as product, are you producing something on this product and exporting it? I'm pretty sure most of you are, you're getting triggered by this question, in the sense that your thinking, your perspective, your perception about apps and software is being challenged at this point, right? So traditionally we have always known software only as a product. So whether you call it Adobe Photoshop, or whether you have Microsoft Windows XP, okay, or if you have Excel, okay, or if you have some PC game, let's say GTA 4 or GTA 5. Okay, so all of these are examples of software as a product. I can write it here, right? Like this: software as a product. So you pay once and you get it for use for the rest of your life. There can be updates and all, and you may pay for the updates or you may not pay for the updates. That's another story. But broadly speaking, you are charged a huge amount for unlimited usage of that software, whether you update it or not, for the rest of your life. Okay, lifetime usage basically, right? So this is what you can call software as a product, and we have been traditionally oriented towards looking at software like this as a product, right? So you buy a CD or you download it from the internet, you pay someone and you use it. But something has changed in the last decade, as I've been saying now, since 2015, 2016. We have all these different kinds of software. This is also software, right? Whether it is a product or a service or a platform, we'll talk about it later, but this is all software. By definition, software is something that runs on top of the hardware. That's software, right? So when you interact with the hardware via a layer of abstract application, just call it that way, that is the definition of software. So when you interact with your smartphone via the Uber app, Uber becomes software, Ola becomes software, Swiggy, Zomato, Zerodha, Make My Trip, they're all software. Basically, from your perspective, they're also companies, they're also service providers. But from your perspective, from your interaction with your smartphone, with your desktop, with your Chrome browser or any other browser, at the end of the day, they are pieces of software. But there is something different in the way this software is delivered, it's used, its purpose, it's all a bit different. Okay, it's all a bit different. It is not software as a product. Okay, it is not software as a product because you are not paying for Swiggy. When you download Swiggy and you install it and you log into it and you start using it, you haven't paid a single rupee and you'll never pay it. Okay, you'll never pay it. So it's not software as a product, but these days there are talks of platform fee. Okay, so we are paying a platform fee on Swiggy. I think it's 2 per order. I think so. I'm not sure about this, but there is. Zerodha is also charging I think per quarter some 88 or 86 or 87, because I use Zerodha, so I know. Okay, every quarter they are charging about 87 rupees, I guess, something like that, something of that sort. Okay, 88 or 89 or 87 including GST. So they are calling it platform fee. So when they're calling it platform fee, obviously this becomes a platform. Okay, this becomes a platform, right? So can you define a platform now? So we are using this word, but can you define it? Can you define the word platform as far as software is concerned? So it's definitely software. It's not software as a product, but you can call it software as a platform, because the companies themselves are calling it a platform because they're charging a platform fee. Okay, software as a platform, not as opposed to software as a product. So can you define a platform now? Of course, if tomorrow you get a client who wants you to build something, would you be able to differentiate between the fact whether he wants you to build a product or a platform? Chaitanya says online services. Well, let's not get confused between these two words, platform and services, because I'll ask what is a platform, you'll say services. I'll say what are services, you'll say platform. So let's not, flip the coin and just, talk about the two sides of the coin. Okay, platform and services, are two sides of the same coin. But what is a platform in software terms? When I say software as a platform, can you differentiate between software as a product and software as a platform? When I tell you Adobe Photoshop, you say product. When I say Swiggy, you say platform. So what is the difference that you are noting? Akriti says a framework. Framework is usually used in the term when somebody is building something using that framework. I, as a Swiggy user, I'm not building anything. So framework is a word where if let's say I want to build a modular kitchen. So there's a framework for that, right? How should I go about it? But I'm not building anything on Swiggy. Platform, a software which used to solve daily based stuff and ready to pay amount based on use, software providing integrated services. Once again, Marshall, you are using the word services. As I told you, I'll ask you what is a platform, you will say services. If I ask you what are services, you will say a platform. So let's not do that. Let's try to define it. Shipra says app based software. Okay. App based software. Okay. Okay. So I ask you a simple question here. Do you think Naukri.com is a platform or a product? Naukri.com is a platform or a product? A platform connecting individuals or groups? Platform, okay. So now I ask you another question. Do you remember the movies from 80s and 90s? Some of you must have watched them, or maybe you saw your elder brothers or your parents watch them. You must have watched, I'm pretty sure, some old movies from 80s and 90s. Do you remember in some movies they used to show that the main protagonist, the hero or the the heroine or the actor, they are standing in line in front of an employment exchange where they are waiting in line for some sort of an employment? Do you remember that? Have you ever seen? Some of you must have seen it. The employment exchange. Some of you have seen it, definitely. People standing in line in front of employment exchange. Okay, many of you have seen it. Let's see. Okay, movie scene in Bollywood, 80s. I think. Okay, just a sec. Pushpak. I want to show you the exact picture so that you'll understand. Employment exchange, is there the scene? No, I don't see it. Somehow I'm not able to find it right now. Anyhow, you have seen it. I wanted to show it to you. So this was a pretty standard scene in a lot of 80s 90s movie where they were when they wanted to show a struggling hero or a struggling actor who is trying to live life in a straight manner, and then suddenly something happens and he becomes a mafia don or something. So that's another story. But usually your actor, when he's trying to live a decent earn a decent livelihood, he would stand in front of an employment exchange, a huge line. People would give their resumes or biodata, as they used to call it, and then they would inform you somehow by mail or something when you get a job, right? So now tell me, that employment exchange, was it a platform? I mean, forget about the technology. There was no technology there. It was all paperwork. But do you think that employment exchange was a platform? Do you think that employment exchange that we are talking about, was it a platform? Okay. So even without technology, even without a smartphone app, even without any data or enterprise level, architecture, IT or anything, you still have platforms. So now can you define a platform? It is definitely not dependent on technology, right? It's not dependent on IT. So you cannot say that an online app is a platform. Proma says provide some service. Okay. Any other answers? Connecting consumers to services. Yes, Akriti, you are on the right line. Can you take it a bit further? You have given the right answer. Can you just take it a bit, expand it a bit further? Connecting consumers to services, you have written. It is an intermediary between consumer and producer. Correct. So Abhishek has expanded Akriti's definition here. Okay. So, connecting consumers to service providers. So platform is basically something which matches producers and consumers. Okay. Or producers / service providers. Okay, so producers / service providers with consumers. Okay, So consumers on one side, they can be on any side. It's not a matter of side here. Basically, you have both consumers and service providers, and this platform attracts both of them. So the platform attracts the consumers and the platform attracts the service providers or the producers, and in that way they are able to connect with each other, and the facilitation of the services or the sale of products takes place. Okay, so all right, so this is it. Fine. Now the question is, can you now differentiate between a product and a platform whenever the app or the software is shown to you? Can you clearly differentiate that this is a product and this is a platform? And of course, now you understand that platform is something which is not dependent on technology. It is independent. I'm pretty sure you'll do it. Okay. All right. So do you think this terminology that we have coined here, software as a platform, is applicable to all of them? To all of these apps that you see on the left hand side, do you think software as a platform is applicable to all these apps? Okay. So if you think that is applicable, if they're all matchmaking, they are connecting service producers or service providers with service consumers, then they're all platforms. Okay, they're all platforms. All right, they're all platforms. So basically a platform has nothing to do with technology. So where does this concept now of software as a service come in? If these are all software as a platform apps, then where is software as a service? Because you're not paying Swiggy for the services, you're paying Swiggy for the platform that it is. You're paying the kitchen for the food that it is producing. Okay. And you're paying a platform fee to Swiggy, and Swiggy is also charging a commission to the restaurant. It's not charging you. Okay. Swiggy is charging a commission to the restaurant. All right. So restaurant is making money and Swiggy is charging them. Swiggy is also charging you rupees too. So you are paying Swiggy as a platform, not as a service. Okay. So do you think we can also use software as a service for all these apps? Okay. Or software as a service is totally something else? So my question is, can I call Swiggy as software as a service and software as a platform? Or software as a service is something else, do you think? Proma says yes, we can use the word software as a service. It is something else. Something else, correct. So software as a platform and software as a service, mind you, in the industry right now, so e-commerce app is known as part software as a platform, e-commerce app. Yes, all e-commerce apps are essentially software as a platform. That's what they are doing, right? They are providing you the platform where you can connect with sellers of the product, and sellers of the product can connect with buyers of the product. All right. So all e-commerce apps are basically software as platforms. So what is software as a service then? What is software as a service? Can you give me an example of software as a service? ServiceNow? Okay. Let's take a look at software as a service. Let's open up Canva. I don't know how many of you know about Canva. Okay, this is Canva. I'll show it to you. Okay, take a look at this. Dinesh says multiple services connected in Swiggy, Amazon. So take a look at this now. I have logged into Canva, and Canva is saying that my subscription plan is over, and I can choose my plan like this. I can either pay for 12 months 4,000 for 12 months, or I can pay 500 for 1 month. Okay, if I do not choose to pay, then I have some standard, free stuff that I can do here. Okay, I have some free stuff that I can do here. Okay, some free stuff, but it would be pretty limited in the manner in which what I can do exactly here. Okay, so it would be pretty limited. If I have to use some premium stuff, for example, as you can see, okay, so I'll have to upgrade. Now, what is this? Would you call this software as a platform, or software as a service, or software as a product? Mind you, this is opening up in my browser, so I haven't not downloaded or installed anything on my system. It's opening up directly in my browser, and everything that I can do with Canva, I can do here in my browser. I have not bought anything. I haven't spent a single rupee. It is asking me to update, but I may not update. If upgrade in the sense, not update. If I upgrade, I will get premium features accessible, but everything still will be done within the browser itself. So is this software as a product, software as a service, or software as a platform? Software as a service. Abhishek says software as a service. Surinder says software as a product. Okay. So most of you are saying software as a service, and Surinder is saying software as a product. So can you tell me now, why exactly have you called this software as a service? Why? Why is it not software? Of course, it is not software as a platform, because it's not a platform. It's not connecting any buyers or sellers. I'm here for image editing. So I'll edit my images. I'll create my marketing stuff, marketing material and all. But I'm not getting connected with any buyers or sellers. So it's not a software as a platform, definitely. So the only choice is between software as a product and software as a service. Many of you are saying software as a service. So what made you say so? What exactly made you say so? Okay, I'll help you answer this question. Can somebody do a piracy of Canva, just like they used to do earlier, of Adobe Photoshop and CorelDRAW and all that? Can somebody create pirated Canva? Can somebody create a pirated Canva and say that I can provide pirated Canva to you for 100 rupees per month? Original Canva is at 500 per month, but I'll provide you access to pirated Canva for 100 per month. So do you think this, whatever this is, let's not, we'll talk about how this is built, how this works, and what it is later on. But do you think this is piracy proof? Can somebody share it over torrent for free? Can you download Canva over torrent? So do you think this is piracy proof and torrent proof? This whatever this is, this model basically. Okay. Are you getting that intuitive feeling that this is somehow piracy proof and torrent proof? Okay. I'll ask you another question. Okay. Abhishek says SaaS may be where companies providing their services which anyone can subscribe and use. Okay. I'll take that definition. But right now we are looking at things from first principle. Okay, I'll ask you another question. There is another app which I use. I used to be a subscriber of Canva earlier, but now I use Adobe Express. Adobe basically. I'm a subscriber of Adobe now, primarily because I use Premiere Pro, and Premiere Pro, I wanted to use original one. Okay, and that comes with of course, a subscription, and along with it there are 8 other apps, Canva-like apps. So I switched from Canva to Adobe because I was already paying Adobe, so there was no point paying Canva. That would be a duplicate expense, right? A redundant expense. I could do the same things in Adobe Express as well, of course. So I switched from here to here. Now tell me, but I have faced some problems. Some of my older projects are here on Canva. So what usually stops a person from switching between one such SaaS to another SaaS? Both of these are competitors, Adobe and Canva. They are competitors. So what do you think would have been my problem when I was using Canva for almost more than a year and then I switched to Adobe? What do you think would have been my problem? Some of the problems that I might have faced. Exactly. So Agriti has written what I was looking for, migrating your data. Correct. So I definitely had a lot of problem. I still have a problem. For example, my older resume, which I created on Canva, supports hyperlinks. And on Adobe, I have not been able to find that. Maybe I have not spent enough time. But whatever I've done, I'm not been able to embed hyperlinks on the resume. So now the resume's links are inactive basically. Right? Adapting to its usage, well, that's not a major challenge. I would say something that would keep you hooked on to a particular SaaS product is your data there. For example, I'll tell you, for my business, we use Zoho. Okay, so for a very long time we used Zoho, and then Freshworks came around, and a former employee of Zoho has actually created Freshworks. Matrabhutam, his surname is Matrabhutam. I forgot his first name. So Freshworks is a competitor of Zoho, which is created by one of the former employees of Zoho. So we were using Zoho for a very long time. We still use Zoho for a lot of things. And we tried to migrate to Freshworks, but then we finally came back to Zoho. And one thing that was keeping us from migrating from Zoho to Freshworks was the fact that a lot of invoices that we had generated in past were on Zoho Books. Okay, it was on Zoho Books here. So basically the data that you generate on a SaaS platform is another reason why you would like to stay there. So SaaS service is not just, it's not just a service. These days it's also giving you cloud storage. Okay, something which was not there when you had software as a product, right? So when you use Adobe Photoshop on your own system, whatever images you produced or exported, you saved them on your computer, your own disk, or maybe you had to manually move them to the cloud like Google Drive or something. Here, it is happening out of the box. In fact, this Excalidraw, this board that I'm using to write all of this in front of you, this is also a cloud-based platform. This is also a SaaS. Okay, so all my decks, all my presentations that I make here are saved automatically. So I don't have to worry whether it is saved or not. It's already there in the cloud. Okay, so SaaS is now coming with this additional feature of cloud storage, and many times this is the one that is actually compelling customer loyalty these days. Even though the other product may be better, but just because you have for example, I am hooked into AWS since 2014, right? So when I, let's say today I want to explore Oracle Cloud or GCP or Google Cloud, I can experiment, but it would be a very tedious job for me to migrate my entire VPC, all my VPCs, all my workload to GCP overnight. Okay, apart from the data, just forget about the data. That would be another, total critical exercise. So basically the cloud storage that the SaaS provides you these days is another advantage point. Okay, now let's take a look at the entire thing from a higher perspective, because in the days to come, sessions to come, we're going to go very deep into all of this. Okay, I was thinking Gmail should be software as a product, but confused now. Is it software as a service? So 2365352, this is a participant name, surprisingly. This is coming out like this, Vikul. Okay, so yesterday we could see your name. Today for some reason it's just a number coming up. Okay, thanks for that, Vikul. So Vikul has posted this question, and I would like to ask all of you whether Gmail that you use in your browsers, is it a software as a product or software as a service? Is Gmail software as a product or software as a service? Using all the definitions that I've given you right now, Abhishek says software as a product. So what makes you say so, Abhishek? Also Vogendra says product. What makes you say so? Why do you think, according to our discussions and definitions that we have just had here, what makes you say that Gmail is a software as a product? Have you paid one time for Gmail usage, for lifetime usage? Abhishek says where we are not paying charges to use services. Okay. So Abhishek has used another corollary, which is if you are not paying anything, it is software as a product. Vikul says yes, more than 15 GB we need to pay. So are you paying for the storage or are you paying for the Gmail functionality? Are you paying for the storage, Vikul, or are you paying for the Gmail functionality? You said more than 15. So storage, you're paying for the storage, right? So you're paying not for the software, you're paying for the storage. You're not paying anything for the software. So Abhishek has given a very interesting perspective here. Abhishek is saying that because we are not paying anything to Gmail, so it is not software as a service because we pay for services. So does that make Gmail software as a product because we also pay for product? So is it not software as a product? Is it not software as a service? Is it something else? Is it a charity, software as a charity? Chaitanya says it is free email service by Google. So let's coin a new term. Software as a charity. Okay. Do you think Gmail is software as a charity? You can say yes if you feel that on some level it is software as a charity. Dinesh says yes. Software as a charity. Proma says no, they charge for storage. Yes, but that's for storage. If somebody is using not so much storage, then of course, is it software for charity? Software as a charity? Or can I call this as software as a hook, where you are hooking the customer, okay, software as a hook, so that he comes into your ecosystem. Chaitanya says, but it's cloud-based services that you access and use over the internet, that can be subscription model. Do you think Gmail is software as a hook so that people create their Gmail account and through that they would enter the Gmail, the Google ecosystem? Okay, and then everything they do is via the Google ecosystem. So of course you will then go for Google Drive, Google Slides, Google Docs, and so many other things. Google Gemini, Google Workspace. Okay, so Proma says, but they are getting our data. They are getting our data. They charge for storage, but they are getting our data. Okay. So when you will enter into the business perspective of software, business world of software, you would realize there are so many ways to look at it, and it's a creative field in itself. Whether you want to build a software as a product, you want to build software as a service, you want to build software as a hook. This is a term that I have coined here right now, so don't use it anywhere. Okay, this is just for our understanding. Okay, software as a charity. What would you call Wikipedia? Is it software as a charity? Is it software as a social service? Right? So now you're getting a hang of it, where everything is fuzzy now. It's not so compartmentalized. It's all fuzzy, right? Wikipedia, what would you call it as? Software as a social service? Software as a public service? Okay, or is it no software? Is it just data? Because there's no software there. Okay, you're not using anything, you're just getting access to data. So the reason why we are discussing all of this is that we have to open our minds, in the sense that business and technology are intertwined today. Okay, it has been like that for almost more than 3-4 decades now in the software industry. Business and technology are intertwined. You cannot take one away from the other. Okay, you cannot take one away from the other. For example, I'm going to show you the IntelliJ IDEA IDE now. I'll show you another model here now. Okay, and you have to tell me whether it is software as a product or software as a service. Let it start up. For some reason it's taking some time. Let's see. Okay, for some reason this is failing. Let's see if I can start it from here. Where is IntelliJ? Okay, let's give it one more shot. All right, I wanted to show this to you, but for some reason it's not starting up right now. Anyhow, so basically IntelliJ IDEA IDE that I'm using, I'm paying a license fee, a monthly licensing fee, which is automatically credited on my credit card. So, but this IntelliJ IDEA IDE is installed on my system. Okay, it's okay. Took some time, but it has started now. All right, 2 windows are opened up. Okay, so I wanted to show this to you. Okay, I see something new here. Anyhow, okay, let's restart this and then I'll ask you this question. Chaitanya says, but Google offers more cloud-based plans also via Gmail, so it can be software as a product. So this is something that I wanted you to think about, and more important is that you understand the underlying nuances more than getting caught into definitions. Okay, so by the end of this discussion, you should feel that it doesn't matter what definition you use. The point is, are you understanding the business model? Are you understanding how companies are trying to protect themselves from piracy and from... Okay, just a sec. Let me try to log into Amazon Q. We're going to use the coding assistant, Amazon Q, as well in the future. So you have to understand these various business models. Okay, just a sec. Okay, so right, so let's come here and take a look here now. So my IntelliJ IDEA IDE, I'll show you here. Okay, subscription is active until May 26, 2025. After that, a payment will be deducted and license will be renewed for 1 more month. So this is installed on my system. I'm not running this inside the browser, mind you. Okay, we'll be using IntelliJ thoroughly throughout this course. So take a look at this. Okay, I can use it only till May 26. After that, I have to pay again. Otherwise, I won't be able to use it. It simply does not, the screen will not go away unless and until I activate it. And it is installed on my system. It's installed on my desktop. So what would you call it? Would you call it software as a product or software as a service? What would you call it? Software as a product or software as a service? It is installed on my system. It can be pirated. It can be copied. Software as a product, but some features like AI or Copilot is SaaS. Chaitanya says SaaS. Okay, it's like a licensed software as a licensed product. Okay, it's not software as a service. It's not software as a service. As we move forward into this course, you will realize the difference between all of this from a technical perspective, but I want you to understand this from a business perspective right now. So basically, this is a software which I downloaded from the website of IntelliJ, installed it on my system, right? If I don't want to update it ever again, I may not update it. Okay, and somebody can crack it, of course. All desktop-based applications can be cracked. So, or maybe I can, it asks for an activation key, for example. Okay, so if I come here, Okay, take a look at this. So activate another license, activation code. So it asks for an activation code, right? So I can hack somebody else's activation code and I can put it here, and then I can, share the software over the internet, and I can share the activation codes which I generate and generate, or generate and hack from IntelliJ JetBrains company website, and somehow so it can be cracked basically, okay? Because it's lying on my system and I can disconnect from the internet and I can continue using it. All right. And if I also switch my date somehow, it will not. So if May 26 is never reached on my system, for example, if I somehow fix my system date to always remain at April 29th, it will never expire. So I can use it. There are so many ways to crack such pieces of software which are installed on your system. Okay, there are so many ways in which you can do it. So the point here is, when you hand over the product which the customer is using, when you hand it over to him, whether over the internet, whether via CD or a pen drive, or any way, in any which way which he can install on his system, it becomes software as a product. But of course, a licensed product. So yes, a product, software as a product with a subscription model, as Vogendra has put it. So subscription is not really tied up to services anymore. Okay. So subscription can be done with desktop based applications as well, because if, I have to use, but they can be cracked, right? As I told you. So the subscription model with desktop based apps is not so robust. Do you agree? Even though it is applied here, the subscription model is applied here, but it is not so robust. First thing, it can be cracked. Second thing is the date can be changed every day. If I am so hell bent on not paying any money to JetBrains, I can change my system date. I can hack that system as well. Okay, I can remove it from the internet so that it cannot connect itself to the internet and verify whether the product is activated or not. So do you agree that software as a product has a weakness as far as the subscription model is concerned? Because Canva also has a desktop app, mind you. Canva also has a desktop app. And Canva actually recommends you to have a desktop app because it is much more powerful than the web-based interface. So do you agree that software as a product, when it is delivered as a whole to the customer, is not so robust as far as the subscription type model is concerned? So now software as a product is not about one-time sale, but it's more about the software delivery part, where you are, so we get all the binaries of the entire binary, the entire executable of the IntelliJ ID is on my system. So I can copy it, I can hack it, I can, decompile it, I can try to understand its code if I am a really good hacker. Okay, I can try to do that. And especially these days with AI based tools, it won't be so difficult. Okay, so basically when you hand over the code, hand over the entire thing to your customer for usage, you can only, the best, either it will be a one-time sale, or the best you can do is a license thing, and that license verification will depend whether he's connected to the internet or not. If it's not connected to the internet, there's no way in which you can verify that software. So either thing is, you can put a check inside it, but that can also be hacked. If somebody can hack your binary, they can hack your software, right? So that is why a lot of companies choose this model where they choose not to hand over the binaries of the software to their customer. Okay, and that is why they go for an interface like this, where you can just use it within the browser. So in this case, it cannot be pirated, it cannot be copied. If you have to use it, the date and the time, everything is synchronized on the server side, so you cannot crack anything. And besides, it's all over the internet. The actual code is running on the servers. You are only interfacing with it. So now another question. Do you think web-based access to software as a service is much more robust as far as the licensing or subscription model is concerned? Right? So we had this discussion now, this brief discussion now, so that you could understand all of these nuances. All right, so you could understand all of these nuances. So it's a, I mean, I've totally put the entire thing open in front of you, and now I'm not saying this is a comprehensive discussion, but now you are educated, qualified now to actually talk about the various business models, the various ways in software companies are trying to make money from their customers. Now, the thing with JetBrains is, why is it so confident in giving over its code to the user? Why? The reason is they are shipping updates almost on a daily basis. And if you are using an older version of IntelliJ, there is a chance that any new code that you write, maybe 1 month down the line or 6 months down the line, this has happened with me, because there was a time when when you pay for 1 whole year for IntelliJ, they give you a fallback version, which you can use for the rest of your life, but it's not updated, right? So I tried doing that. I said, maybe it's enough for me. Okay, I've paid it for 1 year. This is back in 2016 or 17, I guess, or maybe even before that. So I paid for 1 whole year, and then I got a fallback version, and I started using it. And 6 months down the line, I'm doing something, and it says, whatever you're doing here is not compatible with the IDE. You need to update it to the latest version. Now what? I have to update it. So if I have to update it, I renew my license. So basically, it's dependent upon your business model, the kind of product that you have created. How exactly are you keeping your user engaged, whether by data or by updates or by new features? What exactly are you offering to your customer so that he would like to pay you again and again and again every month instead of stopping your subscription? So it's up to you. And then desktop based models where you ship your binary to the customer, to the end customer, is not safe, can be pirated, it can be hacked, it can be cracked, right? So that is why a lot of companies who do not trust their end users, or they feel that I think a better model for us is just to offer the services via the browser, they go via this browser interface. And then the subscription model cannot be pirated, cannot be copied, and of course, date and time cannot be changed because it's on the server side. So by now, I'm pretty sure you would be able to differentiate about the kind of business model that a company has. Now, this is the business aspect, and we have covered this in the first almost 2 days of our course. As we'll move forward, we'll see the technical aspect of it. So it's easy to say that we're going to build a browser-based application. Okay, how different is it from a desktop-based application? How is the architecture different? How is it going to interact, okay, with the customer? How is there going to be a server interaction there? So all of these things we're going to see now, and we'll see that from a historical perspective as well, how exactly all of this evolved. But one thing is for sure, what the age that we are living in now is very different from what it was in 1970s. There was only one model there, one-time sale. Software delivery was cumbersome. But today you can have software delivered over the internet. You can even access software through the browser, through your smartphones. You can pay one time, or you can pay again and again as a subscription model. Or you may not even pay anything, just like Gmail, you're not paying anything and still getting services. So all of this is possible today because of both business and technological advances. So what we'll do is we'll take a short break at this point, and once we come back, we will now go into the technical aspect of all of these things that we just discussed from the business perspective, right? So we'll see the history of the internet and the web, because as you can see, web has become a very, very powerful software delivery medium. Okay, so just like we had the magnetic tapes, the floppy disks, the CDs, internet of course, but how over the internet? So web has become, the browser has become a very powerful way to deliver software to your customer. Now compare this to 1972 when software delivered in trucks. Now you just need a browser. Now your customer just needs a browser, right? So with this thought, we'll take a break, and this will be a slightly longer break. Once we come back, now we'll go into the technical aspects of all of these things. Okay, so let's do that.